our Week 4 lesson in English 8. Have you convinced someone to believe in you? What did you do? How can you rate your convincing power from 1 to 10? So in this video, I will be teaching you the effective ways on how to persuade someone, especially your readers, in terms of writing. So you better get your module, your ball pen, and your big notebook and take down important notes in our discussion for today. So just keep in mind that you need to listen very carefully so that we can have a fruitful discussion.
Good day, grade 8 students. So for this week 4, we will be discussing about using emphasis markers for persuasive purposes. Yes, you heard it right, my dear students. So we'll be talking about persuasive essays and the different emphasis markers that we need to use so that we can persuade other people to believe in our writings, especially in English. So let's start first with the different goals and objectives of this module. So this module will assist you in encouraging the learners to share prior knowledge and know more about persuasive essays and on how to use emphasis markers for persuasive purposes. So, have you ever tried to convince someone of your stance? What did you do to make them believe in you? So the question is very simple. So sometimes you want to say something to convince other people. So what did you do? So how can you rate your convincing power so that your readers may be on your side? So what did you do? So later on, we will be discussing what to use to convince our readers to be on our side. So you always have the power to choose whether to believe in a statement or not. Yes, it's true. We cannot please everyone, or we cannot convince anyone or everyone to be on our side at all times. Okay? So we must have our convincing power so that they will believe on what we are saying or stating. So exercise that power by forming a persuasive speech, whether you agree or disagree on this issue. So there are certain questions regarding this topic. So first, how did you feel defending your belief? Second, what strategies did you use in identifying the claim given by your brothers or sisters? Third, did the points on the opposite side convince you? Did you accept them? Why or why not? Okay, so at the end of this module, you students are expected to first define persuasive essay. Second, determine the modes of persuasion. Define emphasis marker word. Memorize some emphasis markers or words used per persuasion. Identify emphasis markers words in the selections and use an emphasis marker in writing a persuasive essay. So we will be revealing later what is the definition of a persuasive essay and what are the possible words that we can use to persuade other people. Okay? So in here, it is very common since week 1 until now that we need to answer what I know based on our previous knowledge. Okay? So choose the answer and write the letter of your answer on your notebook. Since I told you in week 4, you don't need to answer some of the activities here because we have our summative test. So just listen to my discussion and take down important notes because sooner I will be collecting your lecture notebook for checking. Now, to check if you are really taking down notes every time or every week. So these notes will be very helpful to you, no? Especially when we have our summative test. So it is a kind of composition that uses logic or sound reasoning to convince readers that an idea is better than another. It attempts to convince readers to take action or adopt a point of view. So what is this? Is it an entertainment article, entertainment speech, or persuasive essay? Okay. So just browse now your modules and you can see what I know. So let's start with the lesson. Using emphasis markers for persuasive purposes. So class, when we say persuasive essays, in academic writing, in English writing, it is always part of a lesson that you make or that you compose a persuasive essay. You just only need to choose from the two. Either you agree or not. You make your readers believe on what you are saying. Okay? So among the most valuable signals or markers for you to know are emphasis words. So we call those words as emphasis words, no? So these emphasis words are the words that we will use so that we can convince, no? We can have our 100% convincing powers to have a reader's stance to us, through which the writer tells you directly that a particular idea or details is especially important. Think of such words as red flags that the speaker is using to make sure you pay attention to an idea. Look over the following list, which contains some typical words or phrases that speakers use to get your attention. Okay, so first, important to note, most of all, a significant factor, a primary concern, a key feature, the main value, especially valuable, most noteworthy, remember that, a major event. So, these words, these emphasis words are some of the words that are being used by our writers to get our attention. Either he or she is a writer or speaker, mostly they use these words to get our attention. So, what can you say about the phrases above? So, what can you notice? Where do you usually see those phrases? So mostly we heard these phrases from some speakers who wants us to believe in them rather, no? Or in a certain article or essay wherein the writer wants us to agree on his or her side, no? So let us read the following statements from the selection. So there are those, nevertheless, who would write universal history and leave out Africa. Ratzel, can one leave out the land of Egypt and Carthage? And Provenius declares that in the future, Africa must more and more be regarded as an integral part of the great movement of world history. So what do the statements above convey to the readers? What must be the writer's purpose for saying them? The statements clearly assert the importance of Africa and its people to the world and why they should be accorded respect. Such statements are usually found in persuasive essay. So if you're going to go back, so we can say that these statements, merely wants us to believe that Africa is a very important part of the world wherein they also need to be respected. Okay, if you will analyze it. So let us define deeply what a persuasive essay is. So it is a kind of composition that uses logic or sound reasoning to convince readers that an idea is better than another. For example, me, I am the writer. I wrote a persuasive essay. Therefore, I have a goal. And my goal is to convince you, my students or the readers, that my work or that my essay is better than another work. No? It attempts to convince readers to take action or adopt a point of view. So, class persuasive essay is also known as argumentative essay. No? It is one of the most commonly written types of composition. So, the writer of a persuasive essay provides evidence to prove a point by giving examples, stating facts, reasoning logically, or quoting excerpts. Okay, so persuasive essay is different from an ordinary essay. Why? Or how? Because you need to prove a certain point so that your readers will be convinced on what you are stating. So what do you need? So you need to give examples. You need to state facts so that it much more believable, no? You must reason out logically, or you can say different excerpts or examples. Okay, so let's continue with the modes of persuasions. Readers and listeners would almost always look for something that they can use as basis for believing or agreeing with something written or said. For example, you as a listener or as an audience, someone stated a news, no? As a person, what are the things that you need to consider, or what are your standards so that you can agree on what he or she is saying? So if I am the one that was asked, so this is my answer. Before I believe someone, I will make sure that the person that is speaking is credible. How? How can I say so? I can say that a person is credible based on the words that he or she is using upon telling me about the news. What else? I can say that the person is credible if and only if he or she is stating certain facts and examples. I am pertaining to facts, no? Facts, not opinions. Okay? Therefore, I can give my side on him or her. Okay. Aristotle, in his work titled Rhetoric, identified 3 modes by which persuasion is affected in the reader or listener by the writer or the speaker. Okay, so we have 3 modes of persuasion. So, ethos, pathos, and logos. So, these are the different appeals to the audiences. So, when we say ethos, this is the appeal to the audience sense of honesty and authority. When you say honesty and authority, that's very explainable, okay? Pathos, an appeal to the audience sense of emotion. So in here, the speaker uses emotional appeal. And logos, appeal to the audience sense of logic, no, or reasoning, and how the speaker is using facts and figures to support his or her argument. So as a writer, you must carry the reader from one idea to the next. So this is by the use of our transition words such as the emphasis markers. Emphasis in Tagalog, no? Let me speak in our vernacular language. In Tagalog, when we say emphasis, binibigyang diin. So these are the words that we use, no? So we call these words or phrases as emphasis markers so that we can see the connection or relationship between ideas in our sentences and paragraphs. Okay? So I have here an example in our book. In other words, a longer school day may provide more opportunities instead of fewer. Okay, so we used the phrase in other words here, no? We use a transition word of emphasis in other words. Okay. It gives emphasis that a longer day may provide more opportunities instead of fewer. Longer day is more productive, is much better than fewer school days. Okay. Our lesson is very, very easy, no? Just remember these emphasis marker samples that we have here in our module. So you need to copy this, ha? You need to copy this list. So these are the commonly used emphasis markers that we used in our persuasive essays or in our argumentative essays. So we have above all, by all means, certainly, especially, importantly, in fact, in other words, indeed, more importantly, no, of course, particularly, specifically, surely, that is to say, to demonstrate, undoubtedly, without a doubt. So what can you notice, class, in our emphasis markers? What do you notice? So, if you are going to look, no, or if you are going to analyze these phrases or words, we can say that their goal or their objective is to show certainty, sureness, no, emphasis. They emphasize something, no, they want to give a point to this certain fact or statement. So there is no doubt. So just like here, no, in the last example, without a doubt, undoubtedly, so meaning to say 100% sure. So we will be using these words so that we can get or we can encourage or we can convince our readers that what we are saying or stating are all facts. Because our goal in our persuasive essay is to convince other people to believe in our writings. It's just like writing an editorial, no? Editorial. It's a part of the newspaper wherein you convince, no, other people or your readers to stay on your side or to believe on your fact, no, on what you are saying. So here are the other things that you need to know about emphasis markers. So emphasis is a form of exaggeration or amplification, making things bigger in some way than they really are. A kind of a exag use of words. On the other hand, an emphasis marker is a word or phrase that expresses a speaker's stress upon the predicate of a sentence. We use this emphasis to draw attention to things. However, beware of overusing it, as this will lead people to ignore what you say and possibly try to avoid you altogether. It is very much important that we use emphasis markers in our persuasive essays, but not too much. Okay, not too much. Because we can mislead our readers, no? And they will totally ignore, they will not read what we write or what we wrote. You can also use emphasis to draw attention away from other things that you want to avoid. Okay. Example of emphasis markers or phrases for persuasive purposes. So these are the additional, what they call that? Emphasis markers. Important to note, most of all, a significant factor, a primary concern, a key feature, the main value, especially valuable, most noteworthy. Remember that, a major event, the chief outcome, the principal item, and so on and so forth. You need to copy this, no? Okay. So always remember, before I end my talk, just remember that in writing a persuasive essay, we totally need this list of markers so that we can persuade other people to, we can convince other people or our readers to believe in our statements or essays. It's easy, no? It's an easy lesson. What's most important is you need to memorize or you need to be familiarized with these markers, especially this one and this. You need to have a totally 100% convincing power. So we have activities here, but as mentioned earlier, we will focus on your summative test. That's why I want you to have a copy of this, no? Just take a photo or take a picture of these activities so that you can practice answering this, no? But you don't need to submit it at all because, as mentioned earlier, what you will answer only is your summative test. Okay? But you can use this as a reviewer because on your next summative test, week 4 is included. Okay? So that's it for week 4. Always remember to be able to convince your readers. You must follow the standards or you must follow the rules in convincing other people through persuasive essay by using emphasis markers. Okay? So if you have questions, you can free to chat or you can free to call me during our time, Mondays 9:30 to 12 noon. Thank you very much. Happy learning and keep safe always.